to the ShowRatings.tv Pilot Roundtable, a Southgate Media podcast. My name is Kyle Tremblay, and I'm the editor-in-chief at ShowRatings.tv, which is a user-driven television review website that also features reviews written by people like myself and my guest today. Visit us online at www.showratings.tv and follow us on Twitter at ShowRatingsTV. Today's pilot is gang-related. According to Fox's website, in the gritty new action drama Gang-Related, Detective Ryan Lopez is a rising star in Los Angeles' elite gang task force. What the world doesn't know is that long before Ryan became a cop, he pledged allegiance to a different band of brothers, a powerful Latino gang called Los Angelicos. Here to talk about Gang-Related is a ShowRatings.tv writer who covers Castle, Suits, and more Castle. You can follow her on Twitter at Evil Apprentice. Shayna Lieberman, welcome back.
Hi.
Now, before we get started on Gang-Related, Shayna, are you an active member of any gang?
I would say the Stenatics and the Browncoats are both good gangs to be members of.
That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say, and I was going to say it if you didn't. So,
Excellent.
I feel like the Castle fans, in a lot of ways, have a gang mentality, and I'm scared of them as if they were a gang. So,
I think you should be. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Okay. So this show did not have a lot of hype. I would consider it sort of under the radar. It's actually been in development since a year ago, and I think it was ready to go a year ago, in fact. And they held it until this year. They sort of dumped it at the end of the season. What did you think of this pilot?
Okay. So, two things. First of all, when a show starts out with Tupac playing in the background, you know, it's gonna get real.
Super real.
My other first impression was this guy's name is Detective Ryan T. Castle.
Yes. Oh, of course, I forgot.
So yes, although Ryan is Detective Ryan's last name, and this guy apparently it's his first name, but
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we get an Esposito on either side. One side here. It could happen.
Clearly, this Ryan Lopez was based off of a white vest and bow tie wearing detective.
I mean, it goes without saying.
Yes. No, I was really like, I don't know how this is on Fox.
Yeah.
I don't know how anything's on Fox, but
this felt like an FX show to me.
Yeah, or TNT or USA or something.
It had an edge to it.
Yeah, it was very it was violent.
Yeah, and morally grayer than network dramas tend to be. The good guys were bad, and the bad guys, they showed a sort of there was humanity to them in a way that I think you don't often see on network drama. I should say up front, I really liked this pilot, and I thought this was... I was prepared for the worst. I thought this was going to be terrible. And the second that Tupac started playing, I was like, oh, okay, I better start paying attention here. Like, this is... something's going on. Like, this is not what I expected. And I thought it hit the ground really fast. There was no, like, build-up. Like, we sort of... Like, the guy dies within the first 5 minutes, and it's a sort of... It's a way to introduce us to this world and who our central character is. And I felt like that momentum carried through, and there wasn't any real down moments, and I felt like I understood what was happening, which is a sort of hit and miss proposition with me in television. So like overall, I am almost shocked by how much I enjoyed this pilot. It's not like it's the best show on TV or anything, but I was not expecting anything, and I came out pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite my thing.
Yeah.
Enough.
I have to be honest. I invited you on this podcast because you watch a crime procedural in Castle, and I thought this was going to be a crime procedural, and so you could compare and contrast, and that's not what this is at all.
No, this is
not even a little.
This is something.
Yeah, this is definitely more ambitious than a sort of run-of-the-mill network crime procedural NCIS kind of show.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, I don't know if they can sustain that level of...
Yeah.
Wow, this guy just got shot by I don't know how many guns sitting in his car, and this guy was strung up, and the stun gun on the guy's
stun gun in the certain area.
Yeah.
Did not expect to see that on Fox. I
No.
feel like Jack Bauer wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if it's like anything that they've done, I guess it would be closer to 24. But even
Yes.
that, like, is not like this.
24 pushes it a little bit. 24 also has a very strict sense of black and white. And it's not like the good guys don't do bad things, but you always know who the good guys are in 24. You know, you're never not rooting for Jack Bauer. And
Yeah.
I feel like, and this is the next thing I wanted to talk about, I feel like you are not necessarily compelled to root for Ryan, our main detective here. I think there's a world in which you are either rooting for him to be found out by his police team or just straight up rooting for the gang boss who was shown to be brutal but also funded the nonprofit bank for his community and seemed to like have a softer side. And this was much more morally gray than I expected a Fox show to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who I'm rooting for, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think I like any of these people. They're
Yes.
all bad guys.
Yeah, and that I think is one of the concerns going forward with the show, because you talked about sustainability, and I think that's one of the issues, that there doesn't appear to be a point of view character.
Mm-mm.
Um, I didn't see anyone that was. I mean, the cops, by the end of this hour were planting evidence. Like there was
Yeah.
this show takes place in a very kind of sensationalized, hyper like a what's the word I'm looking for? A heightened world, a very heightened world, like almost. It's almost like you're verging on the apocalypse. So like
Yeah.
it's like things have gone even worse in Los Angeles, and this is the gang task force is just like trying to keep the peace. Like they're almost like Judge Dredd or something.
Yeah, it was I don't know what I just watched, actually. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I just whatever I thought I was going to be watching, I did not.
Well,
So,
you watch Suits, which is a
I
cable
do.
drama.
I
Uh,
do.
yeah, but this I would now I've only seen like 15 minutes of Suits, but this seemed yeah I know, but this seemed to push it a little bit harder than Suits does. Am I wrong?
Yes. I mean, the main thing that Suits pushes in terms of it needing to be on USA is that it says shit like every other word.
Right.
Like I need to start like a some kind of game to keep track of that starting in season 4, and maybe that'll be one of my fangirling by the numbers posts. Like,
Yeah, there we go.
here, the number of times they said this in this episode versus this episode.
Yeah, and this show obviously it is a little bit weird, because to have a very heightened world where everyone has to speak very properly and without any swear words is interesting.
Mhm.
Especially for those of us who watch shows like The Wire, where every other word is the worst thing you've ever heard in your life, and that's just how people talk. And so we have this setting again, like sort of this almost apocalyptic world where everyone's fighting for their lives and people are doing horrible things, but no one ever swears. So, so it's a
Yeah.
little incongruous, and I think being on FX would have helped that a little bit, in terms of allowing a little more and being able to push the envelope. But I did think this was a very action-heavy um,
Mhm.
pilot, and this series, I don't know if you know, is written and created by the writer of the Fast and Furious movie Fast Five. Um, did you see that? Like knowing that, like, can you see that connection? Like how this is sort of has that DNA?
Not necessarily because I don't watch those.
Ah, okay.
I those movies brought out some really bad little boys in Southern Maryland that wanted to be cool by, tricking out their cars or whatever, and the trend has just never died.
So you have a grudge against these movies?
I do.
Okay,
I
fair,
do.
fair enough.
Yeah,
Well,
but
uh,
the action was interesting though, because again, it didn't feel like a television pilot because there was just action everywhere. And
yes,
oddly enough, they still established who their characters were. They just did it on the rare occasion where they were talking, I wanted them to shut up because they were saying stupid things. Like, hold on, I wrote some of them down.
Okay.
Like,
Oh, good.
yes. I mean, and so when the one cop got shot, like, you shot a cop. He's my partner. Yes, thank you for telling us what we just saw, like, um, and then with the other cop, and I'm not good at names, so I have no idea who the guy was,
Oh,
but they're driving
yeah.
the car and the other guy's like randomly singing, and you
Oh,
get
yes. Yes.
I thought all black people could sing, and
Yeah,
then
that was rough.
and then 2 seconds later, you're talking about like, I hope you up in heaven, shaking that fine booty,
Okay.
baby. Yeah,
I'm glad you got to that scene because I had blocked that out of my mind, but we do need to talk about
yeah,
it
like
because this pilot is not equipped for comedy. This was a little too dark and a little too action packed, and it didn't. The thing with the Fast and Furious movies is that they do have that sort of funny streak, and they're sort of self-aware that they're kind of a joke.
yeah.
And this I felt like was a little too gritty and a little too dark to have that sensibility. And that scene in the car where he's yelling at heaven about a girl who died, about the backside of a girl who died, was not good. It was,
No.
and I do think the pilot did a good job of avoiding something that is um, becoming increasingly common on cable, and since this is like a cable show, I'm sort of grouping it in with that, which is
Mhm.
to be very talky, like very exposition heavy. I just watched or not just, but a month or two ago watched the AMC pilot Turn and that Black Sail show from a while back on Stars,
Mhm.
and those pilots are so talky and there's so much exposition and it just bogs down. And so one thing I appreciated about this is that while the dialogue was often flat and bad and occasionally misguided, it was not a dialogue heavy hour, which is I think a saving grace for this show.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't have, like, if you're going for shock value, violence, and action, talking a lot just slows it down and takes away from the point too. So
Yeah, and I think the
it,
pilot did a
they
good job of that.
they made a good choice in not having them talk a lot.
Yes. Yes. Um, so we talked a little bit about this, but where would you place this show in the TV landscape? Are there any similar shows? Fans of certain shows might like this one because I don't think many people know what this show is about.
Honestly, like, I know it's not quite as out there, but when I many times watching this was like, is this The Wire?
It's trust me, it's not.
Right. It's I think it's like a network version of The Wire almost.
Yeah. What
It's
this?
like networked down, but it
Yeah. I can certainly see. I mean, obviously, it involves street. It's on the street level. It's cops versus robbers. In the way that The Wire is, and it
mhm.
does have the grittiness. What this doesn't have is any kind of social message, because there's no, at least in this pilot, this show. I'm pretty comfortable in saying this show is not equipped from a writing perspective to have any kind of sort of smart social commentary. Like this is not a show that's going to be making really incisive observations about policing in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't think
pretty
so.
sure. So that was one of the sort of hallmark traits of The Wire, but I do see that in that this is a sort of world, a similar world that it occupies. I did you watch the
Mhm.
old Fox show Human Target?
No, I didn't even hear of that, much like many of their shows, because
Yeah,
they don't
okay.
promote
It
anything.
it was an action drama starring someone whose name I forget, but a guy who was on Fringe. Did you watch
Uh,
Fringe?
I know of Fringe.
Okay,
I'm aware of
okay.
all of the judging I get for not having watched it.
Well, I am judging you right now, but
I
um,
understand.
but but his name's Mark, I think. But anyway, it was an action drama. It was more episodic than this, and maybe not as violent as this, but there is something very 24 human target-ish about this, where Fox has done shows like this before. I think never this heightened and never this violent, but shows that are dramas, but they aren't procedurals. They're very action-oriented and very kinetic, very high energy, and they sort of will their way through episodes as opposed to trying to talk their way through episodes, and they shoot their way through episodes.
Yes, they shoot and stun gun and yeah.
Yeah, they zap their way through episodes.
Yeah, and they run people over with ice cream trucks.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened in this pilot.
Yeah.
But would you recommend it? What is your final verdict? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I mean, it's not for me.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
I think, I mean, for what it was trying to do, I think it was a thumbs up.
Yeah, that's fair.
For me, it's I'm not watching it again.
Yeah, fair. I think that's a good assessment. If I would say that for people who find it interesting from our conversation about it, like if you're at all interested, then I'd give it a hearty thumbs up and think you should check it out. If it doesn't sound appealing at all, then don't. Because if you're not into like a lot of people being shot and a lot of moral ambiguity, then this is not for you. And if you care about, like, if you watch shows to like ship people, that you're not gonna get that here.
Yeah, there's no shipping to be had. No, and it's right because I can watch the violence. I just don't. I don't know. I think I take that more to film than I do to TV.
Yeah, and this definitely played out like an action movie.
Yeah, and that's if you want to watch an action movie, come watch the pilot. If you and I always caution not to get attached to shows anyway on Fox, especially if you're saying this has been ready for a year and they're just now dumping it at the end of May.
No, make no mistake about it. This show is getting canceled in 2 weeks.
It's promising. They clearly don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. This show has no place on Fox.
Don't get attached.
Yeah. True. And the good thing is, I don't think this show gives you really anything to get attached to. I think it's like an action movie every week, and however many weeks it airs, I'm going to enjoy it, and when it gets canceled, I'm not going to be devastated. So
it's not Firefly or Enlisted.
Exactly. Well, so I give it a thumbs up, and that concludes this episode of the ShowRatings.tv Pilot Roundtable. We invite you to check out this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts at southgatemediagroup.com, and to read about, rate, and discuss all your favorite shows at ShowRatings.tv. You can follow me on Twitter at KyleLovesTV, Shayna at Evil Apprentice, and ShowRatings at ShowRatings.tv. Until next time, this has been Kyle Tremblay. Thanks for listening.